The Scuderia Ferrari had the world at their feet in Shanghai, running comfortably in second and third positions. Yet what we witnessed was an all-out civil war broadcast to the entire globe. Jacques Villeneuve was absolutely scathing in his assessment, stating that Charles Leclerc chose to play a purely selfish game, utterly disregarding the collective team strategy. The two red cars assaulted one another with such savage aggression that their tyre degradation rates soared through the roof, far beyond the predicted thermal degradation curves. While the teammates were effectively scrapping on track, George Russell was merely observing the chaos through his wing mirrors, biding his time for the perfect moment to pounce. The final result? What should have been a guaranteed double podium finish evaporated into a massive deficit, leaving Mercedes to celebrate while Ferrari licks the wounds of a strategy that crumbled into absolute dust. Lewis Hamilton climbed out of the cockpit, claiming it felt like a return to his karting days. But this brand of entertainment carries a staggering price tag in modern Formula One. Villeneuve warned that Hamilton must keep his wits about him. He has lived through this horror film before with Nico Rosberg at Mercedes and knows all too well that when an internal rivalry turns into an obsession, it is always the neighbor who profits. George Russell, who understands Lewis's psychological triggers better than most, admitted he was simply waiting for the inevitable collision to occur. The level of kinetic risk was so astronomical that Ferrari squandered precious lap time, allowing Kimi Antonelli and Russell to build a gap that the Maranello machines, under normal operating conditions, should have comfortably challenged. Fred Vasseur's philosophy of letting the drivers race is wonderful for the spectator's pulse, but for anyone who understands energy deployment and battery management, it was an unmitigated disaster. The live telemetry data confirms that the constant infighting completely destroyed the tires' operating window, causing the Ferrari to lose traction exactly when the Mercedes drivers ramped up their pace. Vasseur might claim over the team radio that they were having fun, but in the Constructors' Championship, this brand of fun could cost them the entire title. The next chapter of this explosive saga unfolds in Japan, and if the Scuderia fails to pivot, the Rosberg effect could cause the grid's most historic team to implode from within. The whispers emerging from the Silverstone headquarters suggest that Lawrence Stroll might be harboring deep-seated regrets regarding the most expensive signing in the history of Aston Martin Aramco. The bombshell revelation, initially brought to light by the veteran journalist Antonio Lobato, indicates that Adrian Newey's tenure as team principal could be reaching a premature conclusion for reasons that transcend mere aerodynamics. The brutal reality is starting to bite. Being a generational genius with a carbon fiber pen does not automatically grant one the political finesse required to manage 800 personnel and a toxic clash of massive egos. There are those in the paddock suggesting that the internal structure is currently fractured, as Newey struggles to pivot from designer to diplomat. While the management structure is crumbling, the technical data paints a picture straight out of a horror film. The latest telemetry figures are nothing short of humiliating. The Cadillac racing team is currently finding half a second per lap over the Aston Martin on the straights alone. We are looking at a staggering power deficit from the Honda power unit that exceeds 50 brake horsepower. To give you an idea of the sheer scale of this catastrophe, during the qualifying sessions, they are forced to run at a mere 75% of their maximum deployment, and in race trim, they are detuning the engine to 50% just to prevent a catastrophic mechanical failure. It is the equivalent of trying to complete the London Marathon whilst tethered to an iron lung. Newey is reportedly incensed with Honda's reliability, while the Japanese manufacturer is fed up with Newey's scathing public critiques. If a double world champion like Fernando Alonso is struggling to keep his head above water, Lance Stroll has become practically invisible on the timing screens. Rumors are swirling that Lawrence Stroll is finally awakening to the fact that all the wealth in the world cannot buy the precious time Adrian Newey needs to steady the ship. The fundamental error was appointing a man who only ever wanted to sculpt a chassis to the role of chief. The relationship with Honda has become so incredibly strained that a divorce before the official marriage in 2026 seems almost imminent. Many of you have commented that the car literally falls apart on the back straights, and the data backs you up. The absolute bombshell currently detonating behind the scenes involves the electronic control unit, the standardized hardware supplied centrally by the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile. Respected journalist Nelson Valkenburg has pulled no punches, asserting that the internal processor within this component simply lacks the intelligence required to manage the absurdly high level of complexity demanded by the new 2026 regulations. It is effectively like attempting to run the world's most demanding software on a computer from 20 years ago. Oracle Red Bull Racing has already labeled the part as glitchy, essentially a unit riddled with bugs, while both Scuderia Ferrari and McLaren Mastercard have faced similar agonies. The fallout? A technical humiliation, where 4 cars failed to even reach the starting lights in China. Imagine investing billions of pounds into elite engineering only to be knocked out by a standardised part that costs a mere fraction of the car's total value. Max Verstappen has emerged as the most vocal critic, and with incredibly good reason. The technical rot runs deep. The electronic control unit governs the hybrid energy recovery systems, and it is quite literally losing its way during complex calculations. In both Australia and China, we witnessed the reigning world champion pulling away like a tortoise because the system simply failed to charge the battery during the formation lap. This is a total electronic blackout that renders the racing both artificial and exceptionally dangerous. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri were the most high-profile victims this time, remaining stranded in the garage due to electrical malfunctions that no engineer seems able to explain with any degree of certainty. The data suggests these power delivery failures are becoming a systemic epidemic. While Mercedes-AMG, Petronas and Red Bull are desperately pleading for emergency changes to the start line regulations to save their skins, Ferrari is playing the role of the ultimate devil's advocate. Frederic Vasseur has firmly put his foot down, refusing any amendments to the formation lap protocols. Why? Because Ferrari is the only outfit that truly did its homework, designing a more compact turbocharger that regenerates energy at a significantly faster rate. To alter the rules now simply to assist those struggling with depleted batteries would be to unfairly penalize the Scuderia's technical brilliance. This is the absolute essence of paddock politics. The governing body delivers a defective component, the teams spiral into desperation, and Ferrari uses the rulebook as a shield to maintain its explosive advantage off the line. The monumental question remains, will the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile admit its failure and replace the electronic control unit hardware, or will they continue to watch half the grid suffer from total energy starvation? We are witnessing a high-stakes power struggle where the safety and credibility of the sport are on the line. If the standard parts do not function, the championship descends into an electronic lottery. Will we arrive in Miami with the same fear of seeing cars dying on the grid? And will Mercedes, currently satisfied with their recovery curves, vote against any necessary intervention? Following the absolute electronic carnage regarding the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile's standardized control unit that I have just detailed, you must be asking yourselves, why is the Scuderia Ferrari so adamant about not assisting the rival teams in resolving these starting grid nightmares? The answer likely lies buried within a bizarre mechanical evolution that very few eagle-eyed observers managed to spot during the practice sessions in Shanghai. Lewis Hamilton has issued a chilling warning that has left the entire paddock on edge. Ferrari possesses a secret weapon tucked away in their pocket, yet they have strategically opted against deploying it for a reason that involves a total risk of a catastrophic mechanical failure. What Ferrari integrated into Lewis Hamilton's car during the opening free practice session was something truly unprecedented in modern Grand Prix racing. While every other outfit is utilizing active aerodynamics by merely opening a conventional flap, Ferrari emerged with what Frederic Vasseur jokingly dubbed the Macarena wing. Despite the light-hearted name, the engineering is deadly serious. The rear flap undergoes a complete backward rotation. From a technical standpoint, this reduces aerodynamic drag far more efficiently than the traditional drag reduction system. The catch? The regulations dictate that this transition must occur within a staggering 400 milliseconds. If the hydraulic actuator fails and the wing does not snap back into high downforce mode under braking, the driver becomes a mere passenger at 205 miles per hour. Hamilton was remarkably candid. The design is incredible, but putting it into a competitive race environment right now would be dangerously premature. Now, let us connect the dots. Ferrari blocked the rule changes regarding the race starts that Oracle Red Bull Racing so desperately craved, and simultaneously, they delayed the competitive debut of this revolutionary wing. Why? Because the Scuderia knows they possess the ultimate interpretation of the 2026 technical regulations. If they agree to alter the starting protocols now, they forfeit the massive advantage gained from their superior small turbocharger regeneration. If they deploy the Macarena wing prematurely, and it suffers a failure, they effectively hand the World Championship to Mercedes-AMG Petronas. Vasseur is playing high-stakes chess, while the others are playing drafts. He would much rather field a car that is 95% reliable to secure consistent points than risk a "did not finish" because of a component that still requires thousands of miles of testing. The Macarena wing could very well be the definitive passport to Lewis Hamilton's historic 8th world title, but for the time being, it returns to Maranello for final refinements. What is your verdict? Is Vasseur correct to exercise such extreme caution, or should Ferrari have risked everything to crush Mercedes on Chinese soil?